Hey everyone, welcome back to another update. For this weekly roundup, we're covering April 11th through 17th. This week, President Trump turned up the pressure on Iran with a naval blockade that's costing them hundreds of millions daily, while Vice President Vance went toe-to-toe in marathon talks. California Democrats are scrambling to silence fraud exposers like Nick Shirley, and the fraud task force keeps delivering. Eric Swalwell's political career imploded in record time amid serious allegations, plus historic peace moves in the Middle East and more accountability coming for the deep state. Let's get into it. The week centered on U.S.-Iran negotiations and enforcement actions in the Strait of Hormuz. On April 11th, Vice President Vance arrived in Islamabad, Pakistan, leading talks with Iranian officials alongside Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. This marked the most senior U.S. face-to-face engagement with an Iranian delegation in decades. Negotiations stretched over 21 hours into the early morning, with Vance in constant contact with President Trump, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, War Secretary Pete Hegseth, and others. No agreement was reached, and Vance described it as bad news for Iran, noting the United States presented a final offer that Iran declined to accept. Key U.S. demands included ending all uranium enrichment, dismantling major nuclear facilities, retrieving highly enriched uranium, also called nuclear dust, ending support for terror proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis, and fully opening the Strait of Hormuz without tolls. Vance stated the Iranian team appeared to lack authority to finalize a deal without approval from Tehran, and Trump responded decisively. The U.S. Navy began clearing Iranian mines from the strait, then enforced a targeted naval blockade on Iranian ports and ships starting April 13th. The blockade does not impede neutral traffic through the Strait of Hormuz to or from non-Iranian destinations, but prevents ships from entering or exiting Iranian ports. U.S. forces turned back multiple vessels, reports ranged from 10 to 21 in the first days, enforcing the measures with over 10 to 15 warships. Trump emphasized the U.S. would interdict any vessels that paid tolls to Iran and warned that any Iranian attacks on the blockade would be met with overwhelming force. The economic impact on Iran was significant. Estimates placed daily oil revenue losses at $400 to $435 million, with broader export losses adding up quickly. The regime has limited storage, around 2 weeks' worth, raising pressure as wells could soon need to shut down. Shipping traffic through the strait saw some resumption for non-Iranian vessels, but Iranian-flagged or port-bound traffic faced strict enforcement. Trump noted empty tankers from many nations were heading to the U.S. ports to load American oil instead. Later in the week, President Trump stated Iran had agreed in principle to no nuclear weapons, halting enrichment, and allowing the U.S. to retrieve nuclear material, with no U.S. payments involved. He expressed optimism about further talks and a potential final deal soon, while the blockade remained in effect for Iranian traffic. Separate talks brokered by Secretary Rubio led to a 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, the first direct high-level engagement in over 30 years, with Israel halting strikes on Hezbollah during that period. U.S. military assets, including the USS George H.W. Bush Carrier Group, continued positioning in the region. The White House Anti-Fraud Task Force under Vice President Vance continued aggressive actions. In 1 week, it targeted over $340 million in schemes, with arrests, convictions, and the suspension of 447 hospice centers, plus 23 home health agencies in Los Angeles, totaling nearly $600 million in alleged fraud. Broader findings included hundreds of businesses receiving billions in grants without proper addresses due to prior paused protections. California remains ground zero for waste and fraud under Gavin Newsom, with a new expose estimating the state has lost at least $180 billion, possibly up to $280 billion, to fraud in Medi-Cal, unemployment, welfare, and in-home care programs on his watch. The In-Home Supportive Services program alone bleeds $6 to $12 billion yearly on the honor system, and Newsom's pushing $3 billion more into fraud-riddled programs while blocking reforms. A former top Newsom aide faces charges for bogus expenses, including luxury trips, and one fraudster stole $200 million from Medi-Cal after Democrats turned off prevention measures. Audits show the administration granted releases to suspicious hospice operators even after spotting red flags, and California charged some fraudsters in a $260 million hospice identity theft theme, but critics say it's too little, too late. Instead of fixing the fraud, Democrats are advancing the so-called Stop Nick Shirley Act, which would slap citizen journalists and locals with up to $10,000 fines, takedown orders, or jail time for posting videos or photos exposing potential fraud in NGOs or programs. Assemblymember Carl DeMau and others call it exactly what it is, an attempt to intimidate watchdogs and protect the grift. Nick Shirley's exposés on foreign fraud and waste have them terrified. Newsom was also caught using his own PAC money to buy 2/3 of his book sales to boost numbers, and on top of that, there are reports of taxpayer-funded sex changes for homeless illegal aliens. In Minnesota, impeachment proceedings against Governor Tim Walz moved forward over alleged fraud, complicity, and whistleblower retaliation, and Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon is suing Minnesota over their anti-white male employment practices in state agencies. While calling out blue states for facilitating fraud, Andrew Ferguson, the White House Fraud Task Force vice chair, revealed that Hawaii received millions in federal anti-fraud funds but secured 0 convictions in 5 years. Major scandals rocked Capitol Hill last week. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard declassified files showing the 2019 Ukraine impeachment against Trump was built on knowingly false claims. The so-called whistleblower apologized for accusing Trump of misleading the probe involving a call with Ukraine, but the apology was kept secret while the Democrat-led impeachment continued. She issued criminal referrals, including the former inspector general, and the House is moving to expunge the impeachment. Representative Anna Paulina Luna announced that Representative Sheila Sheriffless McCormick, who stole $5 million in FEMA funds for her campaign, will be expelled from Congress if she does not resign. House Speaker Mike Johnson confirmed he supports the expulsion, stating, "The facts are indisputable at this point." In a stunningly fast fall from grace, Representative Eric Swalwell's career detonated as he faced multiple sexual assault and rape allegations from former staffers, including claims of drugging and assault. Over 50 former staffers publicly called for his resignation, with additional allegations of hiring an unauthorized Brazilian nanny using campaign funds and possible campaign finance issues. The House Ethics Committee launched an investigation, the Manhattan DA and DHS opened probes, and Representative Anna Paulina Luna filed a motion to expel him while signaling action on others as well. Swalwell suspended his California gubernatorial campaign, then formally resigned from Congress, effective immediately. Representative Tony Gonzalez also announced his retirement amid separate misconduct allegations, and Luna suggested pairing the expulsions. Speaker Johnson and others supported accountability measures, including potential expulsion proceedings if resignations were delayed. Major Democrats, including Newsom, Pelosi, and Jeffries, abandoned Swalwell overnight, but Luna confirmed the Democrats knew the depths of the sexual allegations against Swalwell for years and said nothing. Luna said she's assisting the FBI in their investigation and revealed disturbing details, including potential campaign finance issues and questions about a video that may have been filmed by a minor female. On to immigration-related news. Border wall construction advanced at roughly 1 mile per day, including water barriers, and ICE reported continued enforcement actions. The House passed, with some Republican support, measures related to Haitian temporary protected status, but Senate Republicans indicated it was dead on arrival, and Trump vowed to veto it. Millions in federal funding were blocked for sanctuary jurisdictions like New York over illegal CDLs, and certain Texas cities for blocking ICE cooperation. Scott Pressler found illegal aliens on Pennsylvania voter rolls, with one of those illegals being a sex offender. In related news, Pennsylvania is one of the states being sued by the Department of Justice and AAG Dillon because they are hiding their voter rolls. In Minnesota, the Soros-linked Hennepin County District Attorney filed arrest warrants for ICE agents, claiming they can be arrested anywhere nationwide and trying to lock up a particular ICE agent for up to 14 years for allegedly pointing his gun at 2 people on a highway. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons submitted his resignation to DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin with plans to serve until May 31st, and the Health and Human Services Department purged nearly 1.5 million illegal immigrants from Medicaid. Last for this topic, it was revealed that the illegal alien who murdered Sheridan Gorman was knowingly released with a fraudulent asylum claim, and he's now in court for killing Sheridan. Switching to a hodgepodge of news related to the Health and Human Services Department, First Lady Melania, missing scientists, and Trump's Big Beautiful Ballroom. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. revealed the Biden administration blocked Christian families from adopting foster kids and told staff to prioritize enrollments over fraud checks, firing most integrity workers. Gatorade announced a switch to plant-based dyes, and Kennedy pushed for real food for the military instead of ultra-processed food. Surprisingly, these initiatives will cut military meal costs nearly in half. First Lady Melania Trump called for Congress to allow Epstein victims a public testimony, and Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche confirmed he has offered every member of Congress unredacted access to the files. Blanche explained, "We said to Congress, any congressman can come in and spend as much time as they want looking at everything unredacted." President Trump expressed his support for his wife and clarified that from his understanding, the Epstein victims didn't want to go under oath. Trump launched an investigation into the mysterious deaths and disappearances of scientists linked to America's critical secrets, with speculation swirling that foreign actors are involved. Apparently, 10 scientists have died or gone missing in a matter of months, and they had access to classified information on aerospace and nuclear material. 2 went missing or died in just 11 days back in February, with the most recent being a UFO expert that mysteriously vanished. President Trump classified the new White House ballroom as a national security imperative, as it will include bomb shelters, hospital facilities, and ballistic protection. With its new classification, no judge can block its construction. Now it's time for the noteworthy tidbits, which are brought to you today by Big Fork Brands. Let me tell you about them quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high-protein snacks for on-the-go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. All right, let's get back to the tidbits. FBI Director Kash Patel launched a federal criminal investigation into the leftist violent assault on TPUSA journalist Savannah Hernandez, and Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon confirmed federal charges are being considered for those who committed the assault. American Citizens launched an online database to expose judges who go soft on criminals, resulting in victimizing more Americans. USAID food, paid for by U.S. tax dollars, was found being sold for profit in the Dominican Republic, according to Muckraker. The partial DHS shutdown persists, but Senate GOP leadership confirmed they're going around Chuck Schumer to fund ICE and CBP for the rest of President Trump's term via budget reconciliation. War Secretary Pete Hegseth formed a major defense agreement with Indonesia, and he revealed the U.S. Air Force and Space Force have surged past their 2026 recruiting goals 5 months early. Judge James Boasberg faced a strong appeals court rebuke, a writ of mandamus, limiting his interference in Alien Enemies Act deportations. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum announced major groundbreaking on a natural gas pipeline in New York City, which is expected to power millions of homes, lower energy costs, and support thousands of jobs. Judicial nominee John Shepard was confirmed by the Senate for the Western District of Arkansas, flipping the court red. Judicial nominee Christopher Wolf was also confirmed by the Senate to the federal judiciary in the Western District of Texas. Clay Fuller has been sworn in as U.S. Representative, filling Marjorie Taylor Greene's empty seat. Foster care and adoption reforms advanced, with First Lady Melania advocating on Capitol Hill. FBI Director Patel announced the overseas apprehension and extradition of a Navy reservist wanted for murder following the death of his wife, whose body was found inside a freezer at their Norfolk apartment. New York City Mayor Mamdani created a new tax, announcing an annual fee on luxury properties worth $5 million or more whose owners don't live in the city. The U.S. Senate voted against both Democrat-led resolutions that would have blocked arms sales to Israel. Governor Ron DeSantis scheduled a special session to redistrict Florida's 2026 congressional map. President Trump named Dr. Erica Schwartz as his next CDC director. The Secret Service arrested a man who jumped over a construction barrier on the northeast side of the White House complex. President Trump endorsed Representative Ronnie Jackson for re-election to Congress. The FBI is working to untangle DNA evidence in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie using new technology after the private lab turned over evidence. President Trump confirmed the releases of the UFO files will begin very soon, saying many interesting documents have been found. Amid rumors, it was confirmed by CBS and Fox that Supreme Court Justices Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas are not retiring this year. That wraps up our recap of April 11th through 17th, 2026. A week of intense diplomacy turning to economic pressure on Iran, swift congressional accountability, and continued pushes on fraud, borders, and transparency. What stood out most to you this week? Drop your thoughts in the comments or on X at Shades of Jade Pod. Also, share this podcast with a friend this week. Until next time, thank you for listening and have a great day.